Alright, hello everybody, hello, welcome to yet another video on the channel. If you're new, my name is Ricky Mike, I am a Draft League player, and yeah, this is our channel. I'm the coach of the Virginia Victinis, and this is going to be our, hopefully, quick draft analysis, draft recap, whatever you want to call it, of our team for the UNPL's Winter Wildcard. I'm going to try to make this in under 10 minutes. We have played on this on the UNPL before. A few months ago, we played on another off-seasonal. That was multi-battles with our friend Horizon. That was fun, but that was doubles. This is singles. This is back to my forte, so hopefully we can do a better. We did get to semifinals last time, but you know, you can always do better, right? Anyways, customary to off-seasonals. This is not a standard. This is a fun format. Is basically shitmons. It's very low tier with even lower tier Terra. So looking forward to that because we can get to use maybe some Pokemons that you either haven't used before, which I love, or Pokemons that you haven't even thought about using on draft. So fun stuff. The rules are simple: 120 points to draft 10 to 12 Pokemon. So you know I'm gonna draft 10. There are some specific restrictions on Pokemons that I will get into once I get into the Pokemon that are drafted. I am on the Frostmost division. I don't know how that's gonna work. There were another 7 coaches. I was pick number 4 or 5, I believe, so I smack on the draft as usual. But that being said, I did manage to get something that I was very much keeping my eye on for my number 1 pick, and that's going to be Hisuian Sneasel. Main reason why I drafted this is because it's a grounded poison. It is on the highest cost tier, which should give you an idea how much of a shitmons the shitmons Pokemon are on this league. If this is considered one of the most powerful teams. That being said, like I said, I like having grounded poison because I hate losing to toxic spikes, especially now that they've been distributed so much to a lot of teams. So this immediately takes that option out of the table, hopefully, since it's our tier 1 pick. So hopefully it should come to all games. And it does gives me access to my own toxic spikes. The 115 speed tier I love. I think it's the fastest thing on the entire format, which is great. If there's something faster, I'm gonna be shocked what it is. I'm not aware of anything. I also like that it gives me a solid choice user, either choice scarf or choice man. 95 is not a amazing stat, but it is very good, pretty good for the standards of this power level. It does get access to Switcheroo, which is always good to have on a choice Pokemon. But it also gives me access to setup because it does get access to the Eviolite, it being not a fully evolved Pokemon. Unlike Snizzler, who gets Poison Point or Poison Touch, I don't remember which one, and Unburden, this thing actually gets Inner Focus, which is low-key good since it's immune to Intimidate. You'll be surprised the amount of shitmons and low tiers that have Intimidate. So that will slow down most physical attackers. You can't do that to Sneasel because we're immune to it. And Fake Out, I guess, but that really doesn't come out of singles. Anyways, I'm happy with my first pick here. I think that we can build a good thing around it. So let's try to do that, right? Pick number 2 is gonna be our bulky water. I love my bulky waters. We got Blastoise, the good old Gen 1 starter. First thing I should say is we are not allowed to use Shell Smash on this sleeve, which is fine. I actually hate drafting Shell Smashers because I'm always paranoid about my opponents bringing Mirror Earth and reverse sweeping me. So this actually works for me. Haha. It does give me access to Rapid Spin, which is, you know, hazard support, hazard control, which I think is very limited on low tier, so I'll take it. It does get access to a pivoting move, momentum on flip turn, which if you know me, I love my momentum. I'm very much a momentum based player. And although the offenses in 83 attack, 85 special attack are not great, they're solid, and the move pool is solid enough that I can run mix offenses I can rock physical attacker one week. I can rock special attacker different weeks. So overall, things very good, solid second Pokemon. So yeah, for pick number 3, I'm gonna go ahead and grab good old Castle Black, the Palosan. I had drafted this Pokemon before on standard. It was shit, but hopefully it can do better on this much lower power format. The main reason why I drafted it is because I wanted a ground type. No, there's not gonna be Bolt Turn shenanigans on me. I learned my lesson that one season I didn't draft a ground type. It does give me access to rocks, which is good. I love myself some hazards. And it being a ghost type is also a spin blocker, which is good. It is a decent physical wall. Maybe with, I guess, the right Pokemon, it will be a decent special wall, but you know, for the most part, it's supposed to be a physical wall with reliable recovery, which I love. A lot of walls don't have reliable recovery. See Blastoise on the slide before. And lastly, it gets some cheesy setup stuff, like I believe it gets Iron Defense, I believe it gets Calm Mind or Nasty Plot. I don't know. Maybe it'll come up during some weeks. It's a much lower tier format. You never know, right? Anyways, moving on. Number 4 is gonna be good old Morgreen on all is Emo Glory. Emo Glory, I guess. The main reason I drafted this is because it gives me a fairy type, which is again a premium on this lower tier format. There are some fairies here and far between, but they are pretty bad for the most part. This thing is decent. It's not great, but it's decent. You know, not being fully evolved is you give it an Eviolite, and it's basically less bulky, itemless Grimmsnarl, which I don't love Grimmsnarl, but it pretty much gets everything except that Grimmsnarl gets, except maybe knockoff. I don't even remember if Grimmsnarl gets knockoff. But in any case, I get priority screens and priority parting shot for setup and momentum, and Thunder Wave for, you know, emergency buttons. So we'll take it. Like I said, main reason is because I wanted the fairy, so glad to get it out of the way early. Now for Pokemon number 5, we're about to get some power, man. We're gonna go ahead and grab the franchise itself, Pikachu, because it can, in fact, actually hold the Light Bulb, which, you know, technically gives it offenses, quote unquote, as high as the Ox's attack. It sounds much better than it is, because this thing dies to a sneeze. That being said, the speed tier of 90 is pretty high for this low powered format, and it is starting to fill that hole between my previously fastest Pokemon after Sneasel, which was, I think, Blastoise 78, right? So yeah, it does give me access to more momentum on Ball Switch, stab momentum, and special Pokemon this frail is good for it to have, to be able to hit first and leave and come back later and finish up things. It does have some setup potential in Nasty Plot and Agility, so that's that. I actually have seen somebody sweep a finals on a regular standard draft format with a Nasty Plot Agility Pikachu. Shout out to Sven, but I don't foresee me doing that. Move pool is solid, includes stuff like Surf, Grass Knot, Alluring Voice, I believe it gets, but it gets knockoff. That's the biggest thing for me. I love me some knockoff. If you know me, I love me some knockoff. Some disturbance on my opponent's strategies and removing items. It's always good. And, you know, with investment, it hits pretty hard. It will die, but it hits pretty hard. So, yeah, solid. Happy about getting Pikachu. Now for pick number 6, I'm going to go ahead and grab my first Terra Captain. This has to be one of my Terra Captains because the Terra Captains were only allowed to be Pokemon that were worth 10 points or less. And just to give you some context, this is the first Pokemon you have seen that I had drafted so far that is less than 10 points. So yeah, we got good old Quilladin. This Pokemon is pretty shit. But, you know, it has kicked my ass in the past in low tier formers. See ICPL or ICP some months ago. Because it can be quite bulky with the Eviolite. It also gives me access to spikes, which is more hazards, more fun for me. It does get reliable recovery and synthesis, which I love. It does have a very interesting move pool in some moves like Iron Defense and other things that I may use during the season. Who knows? It is a Terra Captain, so it has options. And it also becomes a second Pokemon on my Fire Water core alongside Blastoise, and hopefully I'll be able to complete. What am I saying? I will be able to complete it with my next pick. But you know, I don't think I'm gonna get a Dream Core in a Fairy Dragon Steel. Dragons are even more scarce than fairies, but we may get the other one. So for Pokemon number 7, lucky number 7 is going to be my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's going to be good old Charizard. It has a restriction. It's not allowed to use solar power. Not that I ever would. There's basically no weather in low tier. So yeah, I'm fine with using Blaze. It does complete my Fire Water Grass core with Blastoise and Quilladin. I have a starter core, which is cute, I guess. I was never gonna grab Ivysaur, and Venusaur is too powerful for this format, so that wasn't even available to draft. It does give me a ground immunity at the expense of double rock weaknesses, but you know, that's fine. I do have a rapid spinner, right? The speed tier is great. It fills the hole between the 90 of Pikachu and the 115 from Sneasel, so we'll take it. And the special attack is pretty decent, and the attack is usable. He does get some interesting setup boosts for attack. I believe he gets both Swords Dance and Dragon Dance, so maybe we'll use that during the regular seasons. Who knows? He's Shitsmon, a lot of things can happen. I would have loved to be able to terrestrialize this team, but obviously that's not an option, so, you know, we'll take it as it is. But yeah, excited to use my favorite Pokemon of all time in draft. This Pokemon is pretty shit without his Megas or Gigantamax, so if I'm gonna draft it, better draft it on this one, right? Will be neat to win a championship with a regular Charizard, but you know, we'll see if we're good enough with it. Anyways, Pokemon number 8 is going to be our second Terra Captain. It's gonna be good old Hattrent. Which, fun fact, I didn't know it wasn't a fairy type until I was drafting for this. I actually intended to draft this instead of Morgrem, but then I realized it wasn't a fairy type. Great. Anyways, we drafted this purely for Magic Bounce. It's basically Charizard support, right? This should stop rocks coming up for my opponents. But you know, it is Baby Hatterene, so it can have some setup options. It does get most of the moves that Hatterene gets, and Terra makes it more valuable because of that. And it does give me some speed control in Trick Room and Nozzle, so that's always nice. But yeah, that's gonna be our number 8. For our number 9 pick, we're gonna grab our Steel type, good old Kufen, which is not horrible. I mean, look at his HP, it's pretty usable, and the defenses are not great, but they're fixable with the Eviolite, which, you know, will probably be running most weeks. Having a Steel type is a premium, so I'll take it. It does give me access to more rocks, which is fantastic. I love me some rocks, I love me some hazards for my breakers. And the attack stat for Pokemon of this caliber is pretty decent, especially when you consider it does get Sheer Force, and I'm not gonna lie, I haven't looked at the move pool, but if it gets the same move pool or similar move pool like Copperajah, then it can make use of that Sheer Force ability. So that's great. This is gonna be a last Terra Captain because we're only allowed to have 3 Terra Captains. Although I do have the point to make more, but we're only allowed to have 3, so it is what it is. And last but not least, for our last pick, we're gonna go ahead and grab the other mascot of the franchise. We're gonna grab Eevee. We actually got all the mascots of the franchise, right? We got Pikachu, Eevee, and Charizard. I promise that wasn't intentional. I just like this Pokemon. Anyways, gives a normal type, which is not necessarily super important on this type of on this lower format, but you know, useful for ghost types. It is too cute though, so if you are one of my opponents and you knock it out, you are a bad person. Just saying. It does get adaptability and some interesting cheese moves like quick attack adaptability, which is if you squint is string speed basically. Also gets last resort and some other stuff. Baton pass, momentum, yay. I could Terra this, I have the points, but they don't allow to have more than 3 Terra Captains, so it is what it is, you know. Anyways, that's gonna be our roster for the Virginia Victinis for this off-seasonal for the UNPL. I'm very excited to be using some of these Pokemon. I haven't used a lot of them. I have used a couple of them, Palosan, Blastoise, I have used on standard, but you know, other of these, they wouldn't even see the light of day. Anyways, if you stick around this long, thank you for watching. We'll see you on week 1 next week. We'll be uploading these games every Saturday, I believe. So yeah, we'll stick around if you want to see some fun battles, and hopefully we can make some cheese work. Anyways, thank you for watching. We'll see you next Saturday for week 1. Bye.